Thank you.
I think we do a short thing and we come at the end to make a small.
As you like it.
Okay, I think it's better. You want a small talk at the end after? You want something? Okay.
Okay, let them see the movie. Maybe they don't want to talk.
Just a small presentation and after the camera we start.
So anyway, the story of this film is that I was in Medellin shooting one of my favorite movies, Our Lady of the Assassins, La Virgen de los Sicarios, in Spanish in Medellin, and I was there for a year. And I had the impression, very exciting, that I was doing something very different, because first it was the first movie ever done in high definition, and second it was like no other movie. So when I came back after 1 year in Medellin, I came straight to my mother, who was living in Ibiza, in the house where I shot my first movie, More. So it was, the day I came actually was, I arrived in the afternoon and there was a sunset, and there was a ritual for my mother to be watching the sunset from a certain point with some other people, and you will see who those people are. And when I saw that scene, which is the first and the last one in the movie takes place as a flashback between those two scenes, I had an idea, then I knew their story, and I thought it was good that was a great subject for a movie that doesn't look like any other, because it was some kind of crazy thing to do a love story without any sex, but only with a lot of affection. So that was the first beginning, and then there was something else that was most unusual, is to make the use of a language a dramatic element. The use of the German language suddenly has a strong dramatic power in the movie. So these two things were most unusual, most difficult to deal with, and that was what propelled me into that story. And so it's the one thing that the last thing I can say is that they don't have sex, they have only a strong affection, and but they still, at the end, are completely changed. Both characters are completely different at the end of the movie. So that's all. I don't want to say more. It's bad to say too much.
We'll be here at the end, okay, with you. Thank you.
And of course, I had to wait that this whole thing settled a little bit before putting it to the screen. And so we started working in the screenplay, I think in somewhere around 2010. So it took 10 years to settle before we started really working on screenplay, and then we worked a long time on the screenplay, then we worked a long time on the casting, and then on the financing. And then at the last minute there was no more financing, so we decided to do it no matter what. And we did it with half the budget that was expected before, and it was a movie that I wanted to do it no matter what.
It's really a movie that it's in this moment when we see now the film goes, you know, with these kind of three generations, how they leave something that is impossible to forget, but you know how they, you know, they react, how the things between, you know, his all these complex, relations between all of them, and you can feel that. I think it's a film that may feel very comfortable for a certain number of people that in this generation that tries to forget and do not think what happens exactly. And did you have any reactions about that, or you think that they...
Well, so far the reactions were the screenplay, the movie, that anything coming from Germany was not so good. The movie was turned down by the Berlin Film Festival, was turned down by Arte 2 times. It was turned down by, I mean, every time there was Germany involved when the movie was turned down. But this is not something that should be exaggerated. I think that Germany is on the way of doing the reconciliation with, to understand, they understand better every day, and you can see it. But when I discovered after I finished the movie, I went in Paris, because we did the editing in the house where we shot the movie, so it was great to be editing right there on the spot. And so when I came back to Paris, I saw this movie, The Labyrinth of Silence, that had a big effect on me, because in my mind, it was only in the 50s that Germany came to terms deep down to the whole people, the whole country came down. It came to their consciousness only in the 50s. And then I saw this movie and I realized it was not the 50s, it was in the 60s. It was the trial in 1963 where suddenly Germany discovered what was Auschwitz. The name of Auschwitz didn't mean anything before 1963. So this was, for me, a very important moment, because I realized that, you know, I tried to make the case against, not my mother, but let's say against her character, by introducing the mother of Joe and this very important scene they have together, where they're actually a fantastic argument for me, because deep down in the end they both are right. So it's the kind of argument that is the most devastating, when two people are more or less right. They have one side and the other side. And then, so that was important. And the other thing that I like very much in the movie is the moment where Bruno says, "Thank you for the paella." And she takes his hand, but doesn't shake it really, and then puts her hand, and she hesitates. There's a little moment of hesitation. And I realized in the editing that if I put a few images too much on that close-up, it changes the whole meaning of the film. It becomes a glorification of the reunification of Martha with herself and with her country. And if I don't put enough, then it becomes she's still rejecting, has not changed. So it was fascinating for me to discover the power of cinema on a close-up and on the number of images of that close-up. So I knew when I was editing this moment that for me I had succeeded in creating this ambiguity, because if a few image difference can change, meaning the whole material for change is there before, is there already in the movie. So I was happy when I discovered that. Any question?
Any question? Yeah, you first. Go. Yeah, one. Better.
You don't think there would have been a space for Joe to forgive his grandfather? For the greatest courage that he had in finally admitting something that we don't know what we would have done. And for Joe to understand that he cannot judge his grandfather. And I didn't feel that there was a moment where he said, "Oh, my grandfather, I love you so much for having had this courage to..."
Yes, yes, I understand.
Honesty, this terrible thing that so many people went through.
But he's talking just the next day after he had this revelation, and he's explaining that it's like somebody has been told a story all his life, and suddenly everything is changed. So for him it was devastating, because he says all the way through the movie, "I learned that from my grandfather, so we know that he's completely attached, and that he cannot understand what you're saying immediately. It will take him a few months or a few weeks, but the movie is already over, and we don't deal with that because we have to finish the story somehow." And he is, but that scene, it shows how much he's affected. Yes, definitely, how much he's changed by the story, by what happened.
Yes, here. Congratulations for a wonderful film. I would like to ask you regarding Walter Benjamin, that you mentioned somehow, if I didn't understand wrong, that lived near that house.
What happened in Ibiza in the 30s was that there was the German avant-garde that discovered Ibiza, and Walter Benjamin was there, and there was a few others, I forgot their name, but there was a very small German colony, and they were all attracted by the architecture. Haussmann was a Dadaist and an architect, and he was photographing all the houses and making measurements of all those houses of the peasants that are something really of great importance in the story of architecture and in the story of the island. And that house where Martha lives was built by someone who was influenced by all this work of Haussmann. It was built in 1935, so it was partly the result of a German movement towards the architecture of the peasants of Ibiza. So this is just an ironic side note. It doesn't have anything to do with the story, but it shows you how some people can get completely into the spirit of these wonderful peasants of Ibiza that have an extreme level of tolerance, which is unknown in any other island of the Mediterranean. Certainly Corsica or Sicilia doesn't have that level of tolerance, and that level of equality between men and women are quite unique to Ibiza and to the attraction that it exerts on a person like Martha, who's very much influenced by the Greek and by living a philosophical life, meaning a self-sustaining life.
Any other question?
Hello, congratulations. I wanted to ask you, what's your personal relation with being German? Would you be with Joe or with Martha or in between?
Well, I'm the victim of this situation because I don't speak my mother's tongue because I was never spoken German. So I have a nostalgia for that, but at the same time I don't speak the language, so I really have some kind of a strange situation there, and so that's partly why I did this movie, but I did this movie mostly for dramatic reason, because I thought it was good material for an original drama. But no, I have no sides. You know, I don't make movies to take side for one character or the other. On the contrary, I am very careful not to take sides, or to take the sides of everybody, you know.
Good night. Thank you for your movie. I found it amazing, beautiful in every way, and in every aspect that it takes in the scenes. My question is quite simple, but what I wonder if is, in your opinion, that subject that you bring in the movie and you spoke here now, if nowadays, in present, giving the role of German in Europe and in the world, in a matter of speaking, if you think, if it's that your sensibility, if German has this reconciliation, social and political reconciliation with its past, with those days of war and Nazi, and if what you really bring as message in this film, as I could read it and interpret it, was the join of two consciences, the conscience of those who decided to go on to build a new world in Germany, free and democratic, and those who, in a certain way, keep rest in the past, judging and feeling completely as a revolt against those days.
Well, the story of the film is someone who has decided in anger when she was an adolescent to take an extreme position and to live according to this moral decision. And obviously we can feel at the beginning of the movie, and we are in 1990, that she has reached a point where she will be forced to re-examine all that. And that's the story of the movie. And obviously the thing has gone on in Germany, and you know, I'm commenting only about the movie, but obviously in Germany they're making a lot of progress since 1990 or even 2000. Obviously things are moving on, and they're moving, I imagine, in a good direction. But for me, it's only the characters that count, and the story.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing movie. I think it has so many layers, and I think that today when I go home, so many things will come up in my head. You said that you don't speak German, and I'm very curious because I think you use the languages, both languages, as characters. Because for me, you use German to create a space of intimacy or something else. So I would like to ask you if it was intentional, every speech where Martha used either German or English.
Oh yes, that was part of the whole strategy of the movie, was that there will be one moment where they will, this is the suspense of the movie, when are they going to speak German to each other? When is it going to happen? For me, it's a very original, unusual kind of suspense. And what is certainly a big surprise is that when they finally do, in the middle of a game, without even knowing, suddenly they speak German, And then immediately she's asked about the camps, and there it goes, and she's speaking German, and she has this big monologue, and at the end of the monologue she goes back to English, but so this is also a very important scene for me. This was really the make or break scene, because usually in the movies you don't do scenes of 9-page, never. You have a scene of 6 pages, and you can't go more than 6 pages in one single scene. And this scene had 9 pages, and it was working. So obviously, you know, we did a lot of rehearsal, and it was working. So I was very excited, because this was very extreme filmmaking. So I was excited to have something where the text was holding the length of the scenes. One last question.
Good night. I would like to ask you if it's possible to make a connection.
Speak closer.
Okay, sorry. Good night. I would like you to make a relation between this film and the next film that will be presented here, More.
Ah, More, yes.
Yes, because the house is the same, and they are looking for a kind of Amnesia house.
Right, right. No. This is a very, very good question. It's going to play now, no? So I introduce the next movie now. Now, the German romantic invented a genre in the novel, which is in French it's called, I don't know, see, I don't know German. There is a name in German for that. In French we call it roman d'apprentissage, learning novel, where the character learns about life. And there were many books like that, especially during the romantic time in Germany. And Serge Danet was the first one to notice that. He said More is a great German film, and in the idea of going to the south and doing a roman d'apprentissage, he had spotted this characteristic of More, and he was very proud of having detected that. He told me, I remember. And the difference, so now when you look at the two films, you have in both films young men from Germany coming to Ibiza, going south, a little bit for discovery of life, for discovery of their art, for some kind of artistic pulsion or mythic pulsion. And in one case, he meets a woman that is a femme fatale, which is the story of More, femme fatale in t-shirts. And in the other one, he is lucky to meet a woman that will change his life for the best, will allow him to develop as an artist, and he will be changed for the best. So there is the theme between the two movies is that. The other thing that you can see in the two movies is that they are in More. You have scenes in German, and because there is a Nazi, like there were many on the island at the time where I was there, because my mother bought this house when I was 11. So I saw the island before the tourists, before everything, and the closest neighbors we had were Nazis, actually. One was condemned to death in France for his, I think he didn't really do anything, but he was still on a death penalty. And of course, we were very afraid of them, and they were bathing in a different zone than us. And then after that, I learned somehow that they were afraid of us, because my mother had many Jewish friends, and at the time in the 50s, it was when the Mossad kidnapped Eichmann in Argentina. So they were afraid we were, we had friends with the Mossad and we were afraid of them because they were Nazis. So that idea of putting a Nazi character in the movie of Moore came from that. And there are some scenes in German where it's, anyway, you'll see the movie. So that was it. And it's shot in the same house. And it's great fun to see the difference of technology that the movie has gone, the cinema has gone through, because when I did the movie More with Nestor Almendros, we were trying to do something very advanced, the natural light. So we were putting mirrors to send light to the white walls to have some extra light, because we didn't have enough to really use the electrical light. And now with the modern digital technology, we can do a whole scene on a candlelight, like you've seen. There is nothing else than candlelight on some shots. So this is a big change it's quite a lot, because more were shot in '68. So anyway.
Thank you, Barbet.